Hello, this is my Milestone2 of Gerald for the Portfolio 4 rigging character. I didn't get nearly as far as I wanted to this week. A lot of the issues that I ran into was setting up these volume control joints. Though I got the complete bottom one done, I still need to get the second spine and the third spine, which are going to be the longer ones to set up. Fourth spine will take a little bit, but fifth, sixth, and seventh shouldn't take me too terribly long at all to program in. But they are set up to where as he scoots forward, it keeps his mass more forward, and as he scoots back, it stretches back. Like I said, I can go ahead and do this on both spines here, and as I demonstrate, he keeps, for the most part, his volume pretty good. I do need to work on his blend shapes. This is just a really quick bind on the skin to show. I went ahead and got the control joints set up for the cog, as well as the hip, and all of the spines. For the spines, I decided to go with these cross arrows because I figured those would be fairly easy to grab and they won't be as massive as if I tried to do circles all throughout his body. The hip control, I decided to put a quote-unquote, what I like to call the diaper on him. I didn't think the box would fit very well, especially considering when I get to it, adding the to these pivots on the legs, the aim constraints. I also have here on the cog set up for the volume adjusts, for both the volume adjusts and the volume extends, allowing the animator to have more control over how far these arms push, as well as how much they push out and push in when he stretches back and scoots forward. Like I said, unfortunately, I didn't get nearly as much done as I want to. I'm hoping next week to definitely have the volume completely painted in. Well, not the volume completely painted in, but the volume control joints completely done in the node editor, which go ahead and bring up on the node editor so I can kind of show what I've been doing, even though it's a giant mess. But this is, I'll go ahead and use this one since it's done. Basically what's happening is the cog is controlling the values for the extend and the adjusts, depending on how much or how little the animator wants to use those. The back joint bind right here is what's driving the actual volume control joint, depending on how much it bends. Right in here is the mathematical formulas that it goes through to determine how much it needs to blend the adjustments on the volume control joints for determining on how much it needs to rotate on the pivot joint, as well as how much the animator wants to push it with these multiply divide nodes. After which it goes ahead and plugs in between the pivot joint and the bind joint, which once again we have these joints that drive the multiply divides, which will drive how much the animator wants to push the pivots out, as well as the plus minus here, which is used for the condition nodes to let it know the true-false statements, which allows it to know when to turn on and turn off these adjustments. That's basically all there is to it, but as I said, the first three unfortunately have two sides, a front and a back. Eventually, once I get up to the fourth one, I'll have the two sides in the front, and fortunately it's close enough in the back to start connecting to that back actual bind. And eventually, once it gets up towards the front, it will have just above that fourth one, which will be the 5th, 6th, and 7th nodes, will just be the front volume control on just those joints, because those joints aren't nearly as wide nor as far back from the spine, but he still has quite a bit of girth up in the front where he will need those volume control joints. As suggested, I did go ahead and add in the pivot joints here for the legs. I have looked at some mech videos considering how wide his legs are. I'm thinking for these aim constraints, I'm going to constrain how much the animator can move around in there, because I mean I don't think it's a good idea for the animator to like move all the way out here and just completely and totally destroy the rig, but give him enough movement in here to allow him to aim these hips more easily. After that, I just really need to sit down and get the IKs and the FKs in for the legs, hands. Well, not hands, but the legs and arms. And also I need to work on the blend shapes. As I said, I got not nearly as much done as I wanted to because of the volume control joints and trying to get those figured out, especially with the few snafus that I ended up running into. But I believe towards the end this is going to make it a lot easier to weight paint, and it is also going to make him a lot more enjoyable to animate. I haven't quite decided. I'm probably not going to do it because I don't have time, but I was thinking about maybe no, that would be way too much. So yeah, I was thinking about maybe possibly running a control out here so you could move and wiggle the stomach around, but I think that's just going to be way too much work at this point. I don't think I'm going to be able to get to that. It was an idea I was kicking around. I don't know how much those aim constraints would also end up throwing these off as well. It could just completely and totally, absolutely mess everything up, which, whew, that would just be terrible. Especially after all the work I've been trying to put in to get these volume control joints to even start working. Anywho, I ended up running tests and such, as you can see, the test volume group over here, which was posted earlier in pictures and such of just the testing of these joints, how well they bind to the skin, and allow for the movement. Like I said, I don't really have as much up towards the top, which he's going to look a little awkward towards the top, but this is allowing, like I said, for more of that mass to stay where it needs to and kind of allow it to squish up. Again, like I said, kind of same thing here on the sides as well. He'll stretch out those sides and just kind of scrunch up. Granted, because he is such a hefty character, there's going to be animation limitations no matter what. I mean, you're probably not going to push him this far, though I did give it a pretty decent rotation value to play with, just in case the animator really did need to push more on the character. But at the same time, just because of this heft, there's only just so much that the animator is going to be able to push on him to keep him from looking like really funny. Not to mention he's an old man, so he's not really going to get pushed very much, but I do have him there just in case. Anywho, I think I've rambled on long enough about this. I hope it's at least interesting to see what I'm doing. And yeah, I hope that like I said, it's interesting, and so far I'm finding it interesting. And for my plan for next week, as I already stated, I really knock out those volume control joints as soon as possible. Start working on my arm and leg controls, aims for the hips, and then hopefully I'm hoping to maybe start on blend shaping. Anywho, as I said, I've rambled on long enough, and yeah.